Hi, I'm Charbria Shine, and welcome back to Max Out Girl. Our Women in Purpose series. Woo woo! I have a very special guest, but before I introduce her, make sure you go ahead and subscribe below, share this with somebody, and turn on the notifications, girl. Okay, so hello, Brianna Hairlson.
Yes.
Is it right?
Yes, you got it right.
Okay, so thank you for coming on the podcast today. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. A little busy, but we got
a little busy, but you made it. Okay, so I want to introduce her because she's got a lot going on, but in a good sense of just walking in purpose, walking it out. She is not only a mother of three, a wife, a CEO, a speaker, and an author. And she is the owner of Breeze Dance Place. Woo! Look at that bio. Yes. So, Brianna, how are you doing this? First of all, before we go into this, have you always known you wanted a dance studio? Like, why dance?
Yeah, I've known. That's the one thing that I can say has been constant my whole life.
Really?
I went back to 6 years old in school and say I wanted to be it said a ballet dancer.
Okay.
That's what it said, or a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's crazy amazing.
Yeah.
Like, God is faithful. So, I don't know, like, I can remember being in the basement. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music.
We weren't either.
So me and my brother would sneak downstairs and we watched Busta Rhymes, Aaliyah, Missy Elliott, all the music videos. And I just started dancing, and I would just dance. And then being exposed to a church that allowed dance in the church at like 7 years old kind of like lit that fire. And I knew from the age of 7 that I wanted to dance and choreograph and have my own dance studio.
Wow. So was it something that inspired you, like seeing a dancer, like you said, or was it just you just like to dance and move around with the songs that y'all was sneaking to listen to? Mm-hmm. What was it that ignited it?
It was in me already, like the dancing was in me. But then when I can say my mentor, Miss Connie, they had this group that was like a hip hop group.
Yeah.
And that wasn't in the 90s, like in church, like Kirk Franklin and stuff. And that was, new. So that was what inspired me when I saw the Radicals. And I'm like, I want to be them when I grow up. And I eventually, danced as a precious little one. That was the church's dance group. And then I became a Radical. And I did that all the way up until going to college.
That's awesome. Especially being able to do it in church, too.
In church, yeah.
So, but business. Because it's one thing to be a dancer, a ballet dancer, or a choreographer. But you have a business where you are teaching others to dance. Did you know you were going to be in business?
Yes. So I initially wanted to major in dance at Howard University, but my mother said, girl, you're going to get old one day. This is what she said. Girl, you're going to get old one day. You're going to be tired. Why don't you go into business? We know that you're good at that.
Okay.
And I was mad at her. And I'm like, no, I'm a major in dance. So when I went to audition for the dance major program at Howard and was rejected, I said, I might do this business.
You said, Mama, that sound good.
I might do this business.
Yeah.
And then eventually I re-auditioned as a dance minor, as a junior in college. And it kind of just worked. Like it fit. Like I knew I was in purpose. I knew I was exactly where I was supposed to be.
So how did you get started? Like, was it just that light bulb? Like, okay, I'm going to teach classes at someone else's studio, or I'm going to teach at church. Like, how did you get started? Somebody might wonder, like, that sounds great, but it's not that easy. What did you do?
So when I moved back home from college, I actually did not have a traditional route. I actually was a consultant for about 5 years for IBM. And I was always doing stuff on the weekend with children because I just love children. So I was like volunteering, giving dance away for almost 7 years before I started this studio.
That's awesome.
And I was still working at IBM, and I felt the pull to enroll in this entrepreneurship program called Joseph Business School through Living Word, which is Bill Winston's church.
My church too, y'all.
Yeah. So I was still an entrepreneur, and I felt the tug to do this, and I'm like, okay, so I did that. I mean, I was still a consultant.
Okay.
I apologize. So I was still employed by IBM. And on the weekends, on Saturdays, I enrolled in this program, right? Not to know that I was going to be laid off that same year by IBM and enrolled into full-time entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So, like, God really orchestrated it. So I enrolled. I took the courses to find out, like, my mind was just, I'm going to start a dance studio. But then I found out I was pregnant. And then I said, okay, I'm still teaching, I'm still dancing. Let me do pregnancy and new mom dance classes. So that's how I got started.
Was that the bump? What was
the
it called?
Bump and dance.
Okay, I was going to say something with the bump.
Bump and dance. So that's how we got started. And then eventually I did that for a year. I didn't like break big like I thought I was going to be on Ellen or Steve Harvey bumping along. So then we opened this studio in 2019.
So I saw on your site that you guys toured a little bit with the Bump and Dance.
Yeah,
how did you guys do that?
It was faith. So what I was doing initially, I was at the Indiana Ballet Theater. I rinsed out their space for every Friday in the month just to test it to see if this was like a viable service. Yeah. So people came out every week, and I'm like, okay, God, I'm gonna move you for bigger. So I'm like, let me take this on tour. So I promoted it. I created it. I sent out the information and went 7 cities. So we went to LA, we went to Atlanta, we went to Chicago, Indianapolis, Crown Point, Maryland, and then we ended here.
How did it go?
It went well, and those people, our children are the same age. It created community, and that showed me that I really had something. So it was fun.
That's really cute. So in this process, what obstacles? Because you're doing well now. You know, you guys are booming. Like, what obstacles did you have to overcome? Because so you said let's start a business. Did you look for the building? Did you have to get funding? What obstacles did you have to overcome?
Yeah, so everything has been an obstacle.
Let me tell you about it.
Let me tell you about it because you have to change your mindset from working for somebody and getting a check every 2 weeks to now, like, God, you got to provide for not only my mortgage, which is my personal, you got to provide for the rent here at the studio,
and
which is everything, bars. You don't think about the flooring, lights, NIPSCO, all of that. So I didn't have money even for that. My sister is actually the person, her and her husband invested in me getting the deposit for this because it was a faith walk. Yeah. So they invested in that. So I'm like, okay, little by little. Yeah. The owner of this building invested over $70,000 to do the building. I didn't have to pay anything for that. And
did you know them personally? Or?
No, this is a
God thing.
It's a God thing. Literally, I was about to walk away from dance, right? 2019, it was just really hard. I felt like I was going to blow up after the bump and dance class. I didn't, right? So I was just like, I'm going to just, apply for some jobs. Yeah. I'm tired of trying to...
So you get that paycheck.
Yeah. So I got hired at BET and everything, and I went to this conference in California that I was already set to go to because I was still, teaching dance at the church. Mm-hmm. So I was already going there to, learn some skills. And it was like a prophetic dance conference. And they gave me a word whatever you are trying to run away from, Jonah, God's going to provide, go and do it, right? Wow. So then it was confirmation after confirmation. I came back home, I started looking for space. And this was actually my orthodontist, this building that we're in. Wow. So it was 3 confirmations. I found this space online. Mm-hmm. The broker that I had been working with looking at other space called me I have the perfect space in mind. Third confirmation was when I came back home from California, the wire in my braces was sticking me and stabbing me in my mouth. So I tried to call, but the number kept going off, right? Mm-hmm. So when I pull up to the space that the broker told me about that I researched, it's this building that I was just trying to call. So I just felt like it was confirmation that this is a space for me. So we got in here, and obstacle was we were only open for 5 months before the pandemic hit. So the first obstacle is we're growing really, really fast. We're at 75 students, but the pandemic hits, we lose half our students. The other obstacle is 2 weeks after I signed the lease for this spot in September of 2019, my mom had a massive stroke. And then she ended up passing away from cancer in December of 2019. I could have, gave up then, we done. Yeah. But I didn't. So obstacle after obstacle, financing. So even though in 2020 in August, in March is when the pandemic hit, by August, I got my first grant. By that November, we had received over $40,000 in grants for the dance studio. So obstacle high, God comes through. Obstacle high, that's the story of my life.
And I was going to ask you, because on here it asks, did you want to give up? But you clearly said yes.
Even the thoughts still come to this day.
Yeah, because business can be hard. Yeah. Right? So what keeps you going?
What keeps me going, one, I would say I don't want to ever paint the picture of quitting for my children, right? I'm a first generation entrepreneur, so my parents didn't do entrepreneurship. I'm a first generation college student. So that kind of gives me the boost to know, if I can do college and complete that and graduate magna cum laude, graduate debt free, and I didn't have kind of, a roadmap for that, God can come through in this business as well. Yeah. So my legacy is important. being an example in the community.
Yeah.
Every time I want to quit, I think about the 75 dancers, the little girls that I have. Like, I think about the Malias and the Carlys who are looking up, and this place is actually making an impact in their life. I've seen children come in, like, very timid, very shy, and they're out of their shell, and they're, it's free, like, they're excited.
Yeah.
So that's really the motivating factor. And then my mom. Like, my mom invested so much in me. And for me to take the gift that she gave me and be like, look, it's just too hard. She wasn't a quitter, and I don't think that that's in me.
Yeah, so legacy, that's important to you. And that's awesome to really instill that in others, to keep going no matter how hard it gets. Because I'm an entrepreneur too, and I know it can get really tough. But just to have something, your why is so important to keep pushing. So I love that. So let's talk about it. So you have a lot of titles, as we talked about in the beginning. So, my podcast is to encourage women to max out in every area of their lives. And somebody might be like, how can you max out? I'm a mama, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur or a CEO or whatever. How are you keeping it all together? We always like this work-life balance. Sometimes it's off balance, though. So how are you keeping this all together? What can you tell my audience?
And I would say, I'm in this current season, I have a 4-month-old, and I can tell you that I am still finding my footing.
Gotcha.
But with every other season of having children and like having a business, first of all, throw all the titles out the door. First of all, I'm a child of God, right? And if I'm his daughter and he's my father and he's a good father, he cares about me.
Yeah.
So he cares about Brianna, just Brianna. Not Brianna the
not
mom,
the titles.
Not Brianna the wife, not Brianna the dance studio owner. He cares about me.
Yeah.
And so that being centered, and I can tell when I don't spend time with God, I can tell when I'm not in my word, how I feel very helter-skelter.
Yep.
But what really causes me to be focused is when I do get that time alone and spend time with God to pray, to journal, to write, to do the things that fill me first.
Yeah.
And then I can pour from a full cup as opposed to an empty cup.
I
But
love
some
that.
key things I do, I get away. Like I tell my husband, once a year I do take a trip by myself. And that's to clear my brain. That's to write down my visions. That's to spend time with God. That's to eat really good. And to get like a massage. Like those are the things that I enjoy.
Where do you go? Ooh, I like this.
So like I went to St. Louis one time. I went to Miami one time.
Yeah, just somewhere by yourself just to get away and clear your mind.
Just to get away. And even if that might be like a women's conference or something just to get back to me. Because even prior to this, I was a consultant for IBM. So I spent a lot of time by myself traveling, and I still enjoy that. I'm a extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
So I can get like, energy from people, but at the end of the day, I need to decompress and I need to be by myself.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, I can put on when I have to.
Yeah,
but
you
people,
need.
But I need to. Okay,
I'm like
I'm
that.
tired.
Yeah.
So really getting in my word, staying in my word, being around things that give me energy and give me life, like the good girlfriends that I know, like sometimes we have to have those date days and scheduling play dates with the kids. So just really digging into my community, telling my dad, like, hey, can you pick the kids up? Because my house is really dirty. I need to clean it. Those type of things are, just normal things. Normal life. Life is real, and you have to be honest and don't try to be superwoman. I don't want to be superwoman.
Yeah.
I do want to embrace this soft life. I'm still trying to see if that's biblical. Sometimes you got to be a warrior. Sometimes you got to press through.
Girl, tell me about it.
Sometimes you do have to rest.
I'm
still trying to figure out the balance.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So basically, you're telling us it's an ongoing process.
It is.
Like it's not I got it, I've arrived, I got that balance. No, it's gonna be some ups and downs, some figuring it out, some change. I need a break, or I need to do this, or I need to go out of town, and that's great. That's great because I feel like sometimes we feel like we gotta have it all together.
I don't have it all. together.
We gotta be like, because I know for me, I'm hard on myself, and I'm trying to learn to give myself grace. Yeah, it's like you ain't got it all together, honey. Like it's okay. You might be weak in this area, but strong in that area, and it may change in seasons, and that's okay. And I really love this because I'm not a mom yet, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm always going, busy. And sometimes people are like, well, you can't have it all. You can't have kids and have a career. But I love seeing women who are doing it. Yeah. And of course, I know there's changes that have to be made, but I love just the fact that it can be done.
Yeah, and I think the really key component is being honest with your spouse about what you need and communicating that. So me and Paul is an entrepreneur as well. So when he's been traveling more than me, and I will just stay in the house with the kids, and okay, I did it for you this time. Now I'm about to go. So it's just give and take and being honest. Like, hey, it's really hard. Can you help me clean up the house? Like, can we work on this together? And he's so supportive. He's so great. So supportive spouses.
So you are the grant queen. Everybody, she is the grant queen. She teaches classes. She's got how many grants have you received thus far?
So right now, I just got a notification today that I just received another $10,000 grant.
So, come on.
God is good.
God is great.
Over $160,000.
You hear this, ladies? There's money out there to be had. We got to talk to Brianna after this podcast, okay? She teaches a course. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really, I was just like, God, I got to make it through this pandemic. Really, but he brought back to my remembrance that I did not have the funds to attend Howard University. I went on faith and prayer. Because my dad worked in the steel mill, my mom worked in the school system, but Howard was really expensive at that time, and I didn't tell them at that time, but I got all these scholarships to Indiana schools, but I refused. I was not staying here. I wanted to go to Howard. So I told them if they could help me my first year, they'll never have to help me again. So that skill set of, setting time aside every week to research scholarships and write them out. And then after a while, you have like the working stuff. You just tweak it, you know? That same process is what I use for grants. And so during the pandemic, and when things happened with George Floyd, a lot of corporations, because before corporate grants was not a thing. You have a for-profit business, people weren't giving you money. It was mainly non-profits. But, they started to see that Black women were the fastest group of growing entrepreneurs, just doing a lot. Corporations like, let me, get in on this. Plus, it makes my corporation look good to give back to underserved communities, if we're honest. So they started giving, and I started applying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I keep applying just because I believe in what we're doing. It's not like, I'm putting out crap. No, we have a service that is impacting our community, and I just write from the heart. I tell them the story. I tell them about my mom, about, my dreams, my vision, and I'm honest. And I think people can relate to that. And so I really believe the gift of writing. My mother had so many things inside of her that she didn't get out. Like, she wanted to write children's books, and she read a lot, and she gave me that same gift of to read and write. So I do that, and I educate others on the process of how to find and apply for grants, because it is money out there.
Wow.
And you shouldn't just sit around in fear about the future. Like, you can write your future.
Yeah, I love that. Ladies, you hear that? There's money to be had. Yes, and you are teaching a course.
I am. So this upcoming next week, March 25th, I'll be at Living Word for the Business and Leadership Conference, and I'll be teaching a grant writing workshop.
Awesome, amazing. So you guys can check that out. So that's really great. So we're talking about women in purpose. What advice would you have for a woman who feels like, man, she knew her purpose and she was 6? I mean, I don't know. What's my purpose? What would you tell that woman?
Yeah, so my pastor, Dr. Cedric Oliver, who's no longer with us, but he just embedded so many things in me, used to say, you don't take something to, say for instance, you got a burger from McDonald's, right? And something's wrong with the burger. You're not going to take it to Burger King because they did not create that burger.
Yes.
So same with us. We're going to other sources, your mother, your uncle, your friends, social media influencers, to try to find out what your purpose is, when you need to be going to the Creator, which is God.
Yes.
And honestly, sitting under His teaching at 7 years old, you're never too young. I sought God, and I wrote things down, and He told me that He told me at 7 years old that I would be a dancer, even an entrepreneur. He gave me other things too, but you can ask God,
and He will talk to you.
And He will talk to you, and then you journal those things out and you write them down, and then you go back to them years later and you'll check them off. And that you got to go to the Creator. You have to go to God to ask why He created you, and then from the outside looking in, people will think that you're an overnight success, or you're really accelerated, but it's like, no, this is time that God spent preparing me for this. When I came back home from Howard, I didn't have a job. I worked at Ambassador Christian Academy as a substitute teacher and learned kids. I went from business to doing that to IBM. So it's like everything, He's using that for my purpose now. Even working in children's church for 6 years, I sold into that ministry, and it's like I have my own little children's church here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Even working with the dance ministry at church. So I would say go to your Creator, but then start serving, because that shows you what you like and what you don't like, what you're good at. being the leader of Children's Church helps me with the dance studio, with communicating with parents, with scheduling workers. Like, everything that I learned from that is helping me now. So
that's awesome.
Serving your ministry, don't always look for a check starting out. Because I gave dance away for free for 7 years, but now I believe I'm reaping the harvest of that.
Yeah, I love that. I think sometimes we just did a Women in Purpose Empowerment event, and I asked the question, what would you do if you didn't even get paid for it and you'd still love it? I mean, that's a valid question. You were giving away dance in children's church. Some people are like, I can't take the kids, but you loved it. And now look at you. So I love that. It was like God was showing you, like, right then, and you sowed those seeds, because sometimes we don't want to sow seeds. We just want to go straight to the top. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. And I love that, because for me, I feel like my story has been all over. I've been in dance, I'm singing, business, this, that, working in retail management. Sometimes you're like, what the heck? But it all now makes sense, because I'm using all of those skills in what I'm doing now. And so I love that. But also, like you said, I was serving in church and dance ministry and choir and in drama ministry. And those things now are come to fruition in my life. But some people don't want to serve. But then you have to. You have to sow those seeds.
Sow the seeds. And then you'll get a harvest. But even not so much a harvest, when you're multifaceted, like you talk about all the different things you did, because for entrepreneurship, you need those skills.
Gotta do everything, right?
Yeah, and it's sharpened in serving. Not just to reap a harvest, but those skills are sharpened. It's better to make those mistakes when you're volunteering than to be on a platform and a pedestal and then make some mistakes. Like, I went off on a few parents when I was serving in children's churches and kids. I can't make those things.
Can't do it now. They'll go put a review like, do not go to Breeze. Cancel culture. So you have to learn that. No, you're right. That's so good. I feel like ministry was the best teacher, like being under great leaders. You learn so much. Me and my husband talk about it all the time. We learned order. You know, you learn when, hey, you be quiet. It's not your time to speak. You know, you learn just so much. And I love that. You know, when we've come from church, we know the Lord in this kingdom ways you learn. And I think for entrepreneurship is great. It teaches us so much. So that's great. So, okay. So where can they find you, Bree?
Yeah. So you can go to breezedanceplace.com or BriannaHairlson.com. That is BRIANNA. Hairlson is HAIRLSON.com. And that'll give you all the information for if you want to enroll your dancer in dance classes. We're getting ready for recital. Or if you're interested in any of my business services with grant finding, grant consulting, business management, all of that stuff. I'm there for you.
Thank you for coming with us, sharing. This is so much fun. So, ladies, make sure you check her out. Support her if you have a little one. She has an amazing studio right here in Maryville, Indiana. They're doing great things in the community. And as you ladies know, you can always find me at Charbria Shine or at Max Out Girl. Right now, we have a couple of things going on. We have our 1920s Great Gatsby Dinner Live music. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have Gatsby 1920s dancer and aerialist, great food, great music, fun time, whether girls' night, by yourself, or date night. And we have a self-love women's empowerment May 19th. It's a Pamper and PJs event. Great panelists talking about self-love, healthy relationships, and mental health. But the pampering part, we're going to have someone doing facials, makeup, massages, hand massages. I mean, you don't want to miss it, and shopping. So as always, go to charbria.com, check out our events, check out my store for books and resources. And again, we hope we said something that inspired you and elevated your thinking. And always remember to max out, girl. This is Charbria Shine. Talk to you next time. Bye, guys.